My name is Laurie Leshin, and I have the honor and privilege of being the president of WPI, and I am thrilled to welcome you to our evening of gratitude. Welcome to you all. It's such a great word, gratitude, and really what we're celebrating tonight is it's an evening for us to give thanks to all of you that support this extraordinary institution. I was walking through a museum in Boston a couple of weeks ago, and a young man kind of sheepishly tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Are you Laurie Leshin from WPI?" And I said, "Why, yes, I am." And he is from the class of 2016. And he just wanted to tell me, just take a moment to say, I just had to talk to you to tell you how grateful I am for the experience I had at WPI. And he told me a little bit about his job and how happy he is and how he really feels like he's making a difference where he's working, and just really understood the strong connection of the experience that he had here at WPI with the success that he's having out in the world already. And again, the word that he used is the same word we're using tonight, which is gratitude. Because we are trying to do amazing things each and every day here on behalf of our students, and we couldn't do those things without all of you sitting in this room, those of you who support our work each and every day. So before I say anything else tonight, I just want to say a special thank you to all of our donors. Thank you. Please give yourselves a round of applause. You really do exemplify the kind of leadership that we need and want and hope for each and every day here. And we're so thrilled that you're with us. And you enable things across this campus that touch every aspect of life at WPI, from amazing facilities like the Foisey Innovation Studios. Everybody, I hope, took a few minutes to go walking through there. If you haven't been in there, just take 2 minutes on your way out and walk across the way and go into this beautiful building supported by over 1,200 different donors to bring that space online that the students have really taken over, as we hoped they would, and turned it into their own. Yesterday alone, by the way, in that wonderful new space that belongs to no one, it's an academic space, but it doesn't belong to any academic department. So it's truly meant to bring people together across boundaries to try and address the grand challenges that we face as a planet. And we did that in 2 different ways. Just yesterday in that building, we had a faculty panel talking about 5G, the 5th generation wireless technology that is a very big issue both in business, on the global stage, and of course in technology, and brought faculty together from all across the campus talking about 5G and how it's going to impact our lives in the global dynamic. And then literally right after that panel was done, we had a climate summit where students and faculty from across the campus talked about all of the different work, be it projects, be it research, be it coursework, be it work in communities that we're doing all across WPI to try to understand and mitigate and adapt to our changing climate. And again, no one department was dominating that, no one program, no one type of activity, but really bringing people together. And that, to me, is the beauty of investing in new spaces on the campus, like the Foisey Innovation Studio. That's just one example. And of course, our research and our student projects just continue to thrive, in part as a result of the kind of investment and faith in us that you all are helping with. More students than ever are getting to experience that off-campus project. This year, for the first time, we'll graduate a class where almost 90% of the students had that experience off campus, which has been our goal. Very exciting. When I got here, it was about 62% of our students had an off-campus project experience. Now almost 90% of them do. And it's thanks to global scholarships and the kind of support that you provide. Absolutely. And our research programs are taking off too. We just heard today officially, we won a new $5 million grant from the Army to work on new technologies around materials and manufacturing. We're driving state-of-the-art in autonomous vehicles, in communications, in materials, in biotechnology and life sciences. You remember the beating heart tissues on spinach leaves from a few years ago? Guess what they're growing on spinach leaves now? Meat. So pretty soon you're going to have like a spinach burger grown at WPI. Slightly creepy. We'll be serving them for dinner. Enjoy. No, I'm kidding. Not ready for prime time yet. Or prime rib, as they say. Yeah, that's right. But it's coming. Get ready. Artificial meat. So again, some farm animals are big contributors to climate change. Bringing that back home, if we can grow those things in the lab, it's pretty interesting. So tonight, and this evening is always one of my very favorites of the year. We used to call it the Scholarship Dinner, and we were focused really on those of you who support our students through scholarships, which of course is so core to our mission, such an extraordinary part of what we do. But in fact, so many of you are supporting so many different kinds of things on the campus, and so we've really opened that up tonight, and you'll get to hear some different stories of how your philanthropy and support are really impacting our faculty, our students, and our work. So again, welcome to this great evening of gratitude. We're going to do a little bit of the program now, and then we will do a little bit more of it after your full dinner. So you're going to start by hearing a couple of stories from a wonderful faculty leader on the campus and from one of our extraordinary students. And so I'm going to go ahead and pass it on for the first story of the evening to bring Kristin Boudreau, who is the head of our Department of Humanities and Arts, and also the Paris Fletcher Distinguished Professor in Humanities. Her scholarship includes a focus on American literature from the 17th to 21st centuries, African American literature and engineering education, where she is truly a leader here. Chris is the recipient of the 2017 Trustees Award for Outstanding Research and Creative Scholarship. I just love that we have a humanist who won our research award here, and it just shows again how we bring great education and great research together at WPI. Chris teaches in our literature and writing programs. She teaches inquiry seminars, great problem seminars, and including one called Feed the World, which I would love to take and which soon will be featuring artificial meat, no doubt. She teaches about technology in the developing world. And again, I think all of you can appreciate the importance of the integration of the humanities and arts with science and engineering that WPI provides. To me, it is part of our unique value proposition to the world. And it's a value proposition that the world needs now more than ever as we get into artificial intelligence, machine learning, the technologies that are changing our lives so quickly. We need to be able to take a moment and ask, not can we do this, but should we do this, and how should we do this? And it's really the humanists that bring that ethical human dimension to so much of what we do. Chris represents those folks amazingly. Kristin Boudreau, come on up and share a story with us.
Thank you for those really kind words. I love being here because of the integration and what WPI stands for in the WPI plan and our long traditions of bringing people together who anywhere else wouldn't speak the same language. But I want to talk about you for a little bit because generous people don't often ask what they're getting for their money. But I hope you'll indulge me and hear why you mean so much to me, to our students, and to the faculty I represent. And when I say generosity, I also mean time. I'm looking out and I'm seeing people I know, Henry and Miles, and I know you because we've worked together. Mike, I'm not going to do it because I'll forget names, but you've been here and you've been on campus, and that is so precious to us. Philanthropic support helps educators think more creatively and expansively about the work that we do. When we are able to plan beyond tuition support, we're more free to take risks and to follow our intuitions about educational innovation. And I'm going to speak about educational innovation, but I mean research innovation as well, of course. For 5 years, I've been the proud recipient of the Paris Fletcher Distinguished Professorship in the Humanities. And my primary motivation at WPI has been inclusive excellence. I'm a big fan of WPI's extraordinary project-based curriculum, the centrality of the humanities and how we think about science and engineering, the reciprocity of those fields, and the way that we educate people to be scientific and humanistic citizens of the world with a real strong sense of what we owe the world that brought us here. It strikes me as unfair that our educational approach isn't available to every single young person, because you imagine what a world could be, what our world could be if every person on this earth had access to the kind of education that WPI provides. And I know that that's something that President Leshin was worrying about when she interviewed for the job. I remember you saying that. In Paris Fletcher's name, and with the support of Warner and Mary Fletcher, I've led students and collaborated with engineering colleagues to design role-playing games that teach engineering within its complex human context, so that any classroom can be a place where integrative, real-world, project-based learning can happen. Yesterday, for instance, at this beautiful climate summit, our first-year students demonstrated a bench-scale model of a fog chamber, and it was based on a state-of-the-art project in rural Morocco that's water-starved. The Sahara's creeping in. There's no rainwater, but there's this dense fog on top of the mountain. And these engineers working with the local people design nets that can harvest potable water from fog. And our students designed and built with tech support in the Commenge department, a bench-scale model so they can run experiments and show people what happens and how you can vary the rate, the temperature, various things to see how to get a more efficient output, but also to understand the people who live there. And so they had videos and audio and interviews, and it was a beautiful thing. And they're testing it so that they can bring it into classrooms and work with local teachers here and wherever, so that approximation of what it means when we go off campus on an IQP. We can't do that for everyone, but we can bring some of that into the classroom. And we've done that with donor support, so that when they see this, they see how Indigenous people can deal with climate change. It's important for our students to understand not only the climate science and the engineering principles, but also the human factors that make this intervention both necessary and complicated. If we want to broaden the STEM workforce to include underrepresented populations, girls, people of color, people from poor families and from families who've never sent anyone to college, we know we can lure them with opportunities to solve real problems that affect real communities like their own. And we need to do this work because the world's most intractable problems require the hands, the brains, and the conscience of every one of us. We can't afford to exclude a single worthy person. And I think President Leshin said that when she was candidate Leshin, again, saying we need everybody at the table. So for my colleagues and for me, role-playing games that invite students to inhabit different perspectives have been a successful way of providing the perfect motivation to study STEM. But these efforts cost money, and to include students in the development of role-playing games means bringing them into the field to collect materials and data, bringing them into the lab to develop learning activities, bringing them face-to-face with engineers, climate scientists, and teachers to understand the science, the engineering, and the art of complex problem solving. It's not fair to expect tuition to pay for experimental teaching and research, so we look for external funding sources. And donor support has given us the seed funding to test our hypotheses before applying for these external funds, and we've been successful. And when I say we, I'm not using the royal we. I have a huge team of engineering colleagues and humanities colleagues and lots of students and staff. Experiences like these can be life-changing for the students involved in game development, like the first-generation college students we took to Morocco to learn about fog water harvesting, or the students who have collaborated and published with us, or the team of first- and second-year undergraduates who are now running experiments on the fog chamber. They can also be transformative for other educators, like the many faculty we reach through workshops on game-based integrative learning. We've offered these workshops and materials to teachers who are using them now, and this summer my team and I are going to work with middle school STEM teachers to use these materials and games in their own classroom. And finally, these experiences have been transformative for higher education beyond WPI. So last year, when the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine published a consensus report on the integration of STEM with arts and humanities, WPI was featured as an exemplar. I was proud to be one of the many co-authors on that report, and I was invited there not because of my accomplishments, but because of WPI's curriculum. And I was proud to be part of that because I believe in WPI's innovative approach to education. It's been an honor to carry the Paris Fletcher name into some of the most experimental teaching and scholarship that I've done in my life. And my story as a named professor is both unique and representative. Donor support is essential in helping WPI's teachers and scholars be creative, take risks, support deserving students, and continuously remake WPI as the experimental and high-impact institution that we all recognize. I was talking to David and Shirley White over there, and they've got an endowed professorship in the civil engineering department, and we're surrounded by 4 student recipients of their generosity as well. And I know that this story is repeated in its variety across the room and across the campus. So I'm grateful to the Fletcher family, I'm grateful to the White family, and to so many of you who've helped WPI. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to introduce Matthew Jankowski. Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you, Professor Boudreau. My name is Matthew Jankowski. I'm a junior majoring in biology and biotechnology and a first-generation college student. I come from Burlington, Massachusetts, where I live with my mother, my twin brother Adam, and my grandfather. You guys? WPI donor support has affected my life, our lives, in ways most people can never understand. So first and foremost, I'd like to thank you, our generous donors, for your continued commitment to and support of this great university. Like our alumni and my peers, I worked very hard to get into WPI. And when I arrived on campus, I was determined to excel in all that I did. Today, I'm a captain of the varsity track and field team, an active member of the Student Alumni Society, and vice president of the Biotechnology Club. This evening, I'd like to share the 4 things about WPI that have had the most impact on my life. The first is my scholarship donor, Stephanie Kwolek. Beyond the impact Ms. Kwolek made on the world when she invented what is today known as Kevlar, Ms. Kwolek positively impacted my life by funding the Stephanie L. Kwolek Endowed Scholarship. Coming from a single-parent home with twin brothers in college at the exact same time, Ms. Kwolek's support of my education played a vital role in my ability to attend WPI. The second is WPI Board of Trustee member David Lepre, class of 1974, and his wife Anne. Last year, Mr. Lepre generously funded the David Lepre Undergraduate Summer Research Fellowship, which provided paid internships for student research in the physical life sciences. This support allowed me to not only gain valuable research experience, but also helped me pay for my 3rd most impactful WPI experience, my interactive qualifying project to Windhoek, Namibia. As a freshman, I attended the Global Projects Fair to see WPI's many IQP sites, and there are a lot of them, and they're all great. And when I came across the Namibia table, I knew instantly that was the site for me. I had always wanted to go to Africa, but never in a million years did I think I'd actually be able to go there. To this point in my life, I'd never even flown in an airplane. After a long application process, the good news arrived, and I'd been accepted into the project site of my dreams. The bad news, however, was without help, there was no way me or my family could afford the trip. Mr. Lepre's support of research fellowship and the C. William Shipman Scholarship in support of global projects allowed me to afford the Namibia IQP. For 7 weeks, I experienced a completely new culture and way of life, while my team and I worked to enhance the STEM curriculum of Windhoek's primary schools. My global project provided me with experiences I otherwise never would have had, growing me in valuable and important ways. It gave me a whole new view on the world, especially how human privilege and need interact. It taught me about team dynamics and real-world deadlines, forcing me to improve my communication skills. It allowed me to work towards a common goal for good. And finally, it let me test my mettle. For a kid who hadn't even been on an airplane, I flew across the globe, lived and worked in a vastly different culture, and held my own. Thank you. As you can see from these examples, WPI and its generous donors have impacted my life in powerful ways. The final, yet main reason I'm here to thank you this evening, however, is a very personal one. WPI donors have helped me conduct important and deeply personal research in my field. I've always known that I wanted to study biology and biotechnology, more specifically to study cancer biology. 6 years ago, I lost my father to colon cancer, and although his loss added many challenges to me and my family, it also allowed for areas of great support and inspiration. Donor support of scholarship filled in for my dad in helping my mom support my education. Donor support of fellowship and global projects allowed me to travel to Namibia and enhance primary school education. Donor support of facilities built the amazing Life Sciences and Bioengineering Center at Gateway Park. And donor support of research allows WPI to work towards the future's most impactful innovations and insights, of which I hope for many in the field of cancer biology. With all the support I've received from WPI donors, there is nothing I would rather be doing this evening than to be standing here and celebrating you. It is your generosity, your confidence, and your investment that ensures all students get to have an amazing WPI experience like mine. You are the ones who help us attend this great university, go on IQP, and get jobs. You are the ones that prepare and inspire us to make a positive impact on the world. And personally, you're the ones allowing me to play my role in the fight against cancer. So, on behalf of my family, my peers, our faculty, and our staff, I thank you from the bottom of my heart and wholeheartedly join in the celebration of you and the great legacy of philanthropy at WPI.
Thank you, President Leshin, faculty, honored guests. As a first order of business, what I'd like to do is offer congratulations to all the recipients here this evening. Your honors are truly well-deserved. As you've heard, I'm Jack Cunic, class of '68, and I'm truly honored to be a speaker here at the inaugural WPI Evening of Gratitude. But I got two questions I asked myself immediately was, why me, and what am I supposed to talk about? We'll forget about the first one, and tonight we're here to celebrate the positive ripple impact that occurs because of an initial because of or because somebody cared. And that's what I'd like to talk about this evening. And while I could use many stories, and I know there's many stories out there, please allow me to share my story with you as an example of the positive ripple impact of a first because of or because somebody cared. A little bit of background. I'm a townie, and I am proud as anything of it. I was born, brought up, and educated all within a mile of the Worcester City Hall, which for those who don't know, that's about a mile that way. And if you go another mile, that's where I grew up. We were a typical Worcester family. Definitely not wealthy, probably not poor. We simply lived like our neighbors, friends, and relatives. Now, at this point, you cannot question this next paragraph because it comes from an impeachable source, my mother. One never questions one's mother. I am told, believe it or not, from her, that at about the age of 5 or 6, I began to learn what an engineer was, and that was my choice of career path. She tells me a little later, because she says I was slow, that it took till I was about 8 or 10 to understand that in order to become an engineer, one had to go to college. Hey, I'm a Worcester boy. Where else am I going to go? WPI. My parents were very supportive of my desire to attend WPI, but we all understood, including myself, that it would be financially challenging. And the family plan sort of evolved to this. It appeared that there would be enough money for me to attend freshman year, and then the plan was work for a year, go to school for a year, work for a year, go to school for a year. I got accepted here to WPI, went through my freshman year, and our planning was accurate. At the end of freshman year, no money, time to go get a job. I had trained as a draftsman, but the only job that I could get at that time was as a laborer in a manufacturing plant. Now, if we stop the story right here, right now, two things. One, it is highly unlikely that I would have graduated from WPI. And two, I probably wouldn't be addressing you tonight, which some of you might think might be a blessing. And here comes the first because somebody cared. And that first one is the most important because that's the foundation. That's where everything starts. Things build from there. It just so happens that the manufacturing company I was working at, Reed and Prince, had a scholarship to WPI. And through that scholarship, I was able to continue my education without interruption, getting a degree in chemical engineering. Following graduation, I went to graduate school here via a grant because somebody else cared. I did some interesting work in the field of combustion and particulate sampling. After graduate school, I went to work for this itty-bitty company. You might have heard it. At the time, its name was SO. It changed its name to Exxon and is now ExxonMobil. At the time I joined the industrial world was at the same time that the Clean Air Act extensions were passed in 1970 and the formation of the EPA. In those days, the early 70s, environmental control did not have the technology to meet all of industry's needs. So one of the first projects I was involved with was the development of the Exxon WGS, or wet gas scrubber. A few look saying, WGS, what's that? Well, one of my units is a little famous. If you remember the opening credits to The Sopranos, and you see these two stacks with these white plumes coming out, that's the Bayway scrubber. That's a pollution control device. That's my design. Besides scrubbers, I designed or specified electrostatic precipitators, fabric filters, cyclones, flue gas desulfurization systems, both wet and dry, SCR and SNCR systems. Most of these applications were on cat crackers. Proper name for it is a fluid catalytic cracker. That's the refinery process that produces most of the gasoline. I wasn't limited to that. I also worked on coal-fired boilers, lignite-fired boilers, fluid cokers, shale oil processing plants, and tar sands processing plants. I was asked if I could summarize the impact of my career in air pollution control equipment, what that has done for the world. Making a few quick numbers, in about the time of this presentation, just the equipment that I personally designed has removed 1,500 pounds of SO2 from the atmosphere and 750 pounds of respirable particulate. Thank you. And if you add on the devices that were designed under my supervision by my group or groups that I was part of, those numbers go up by at least an order of magnitude. Now, before I leave, there is one final and a very important because of or because somebody cares. It's a very important one. And here's the point. Everyone in this room either has or will have the ability to be someone who cares. I'm generally not a man of words, I'm a man of action. And to this end, my wife Marion sitting there and myself have created the John D. Jack Cunic Endowment Scholarship is our way of saying, one, thank you for those who did a because of or because we care for me, and a way of providing funding for those who need a because of or because somebody cares in the future. Let me just say one more thing. Thank you for allowing me to celebrate philanthropy here at WPI. To tonight's recipients, congratulations, well deserved. And to my fellow donors, I'm so proud to be amongst you. Thank you.
At an event like this, where I get to speak about the impact of philanthropy and my experience at WPI, it's an honor to follow an alumnus and donor such as Jack Cunic. Hello, my name is Rachel Peterson. I am a senior from Hastings, Minnesota, double majoring in biomedical engineering and professional writing. As a recipient of the John R. Black Endowed Scholarship, it is my pleasure to represent the students of WPI during this very special evening of gratitude, and to thank you on their behalf for your generous support. I jumped at the opportunity to help celebrate you this evening because WPI and the long-standing legacy of philanthropy at WPI has influenced my life in a profound and very personal way. My father is the reason I fell in love with science, fell in love with helping others, and pursued a career where I get to ask questions every day. He encouraged me to be curious, to not be satisfied with a first impression. My father was a middle school science teacher, and looking back on my childhood, I'm sure that my appetite for knowledge and relentless questions were exhausting to him. But he never showed it. In fact, he had an almost magical way of creating a teaching moment from every situation. He and my family were supportive, always providing me with the opportunity to try new things, even when that meant traveling 1,352 miles from home to attend my dream school. And WPI is and has always been my dream school. The place where I would take my passion for knowledge and turn it into purpose and impact. I got into WPI, I studied hard, and did well in my classes. So focused on my dream career, I rarely gave thought to how my family, a military family, would continue to afford my tuition. And although my parents would urge me not to worry, I noticed the toll tuition worries were taking on them, and was eventually faced with a choice of either transferring to a state school back home or taking out additional loans on top of my already accumulating loans. To this day, my family still doesn't know the extent of my internal anguish over that decision. But then, bam, before I could voice my painful decision to move back home, the great culture of philanthropy at WPI rescued me. I had been awarded the John R. Black Endowed Scholarship, and I would be able to stay at WPI. I left the financial aid meeting that day feeling numb, shocked, and found myself crying near the beech tree, overwhelmed that someone, somewhere, had saw a student in need and lent a helping hand. It wasn't until much later that I learned of the very special nature of my scholarship. I was awarded the John R. Black Endowed Scholarship because my father, my first teacher, my role model, the reason that I love science so much is also Lieutenant Colonel Paul R. Peterson, United States National Guard, 34th Infantry Division, currently serving our country somewhere in Kuwait. Growing up in a military family offers different perspectives on higher education, different family challenges, and different daily sacrifices to be made. Somehow, my donor understood that and offered a helping hand to ensure that students like me and families like mine have one less thing to worry about. That helping hand is the reason I am standing here this evening. The reason I'm able to sleep at night knowing my checks won't bounce. The reason I can pursue rowing at a varsity level and pursue a leadership position with my sorority Alpha Xi Delta. And the reason that I could travel to Ecuador last year for my interactive qualifying project. That helping hand is the reason that I am able to pretend for a few hours each day that I'm a normal college student, and is the reason I will graduate WPI, a premier polytechnic institute, with a double degree next month. I am pursuing a career in medical device regulation and clinical writing. I hope to continue to share my knowledge with others, just like my father did with me, just like our amazing faculty do with all of us. To me, an education is the most powerful tool someone can use towards defining their future and making the world a better place. To our donors here tonight and those at home, look at the students here this evening. They are truly remarkable. The stories that I have heard about the things they have done with your gifts are astounding, each one more compelling than the next. I urge you tonight, if you do nothing more, please trust in the powerful impact that you have made on their lives. To the students here tonight who have been given a helping hand through the support of scholarship, research funds, labs, and global travel, look around to the people who have made this possible for you. They may seem a bit intimidating right now, but they were just like you once, struggling through college, through life, struggling to make a difference. Let them inspire you. Let them reassure you. And let them show you that through hard work and knowledge, you too can make a positive impact on the world. And ask yourself, will I help make the world a better place as they have? Will I join the great culture of philanthropy at WPI and give back? Will I lend a helping hand? My greatest hope is the theory and practice I gained here at WPI has prepared me to make a positive impact in the field of medical device regulation and to be able to give back to WPI for all that it has given me. To my mom, Sonia Peterson, who is here with us this evening, thanks, Mom. I love you. And to my dad, who is asleep on the other side of the world right now, thank you for making me curious, for giving me science, for letting me dream, and for getting me all the way to WPI. To the donors in attendance this evening, and to my donor, Mr. Black, who is no longer with us, thank you for supporting my journey, my education, and for getting me to next month when I join my peers as the WPI graduating class of 2019. The entire WPI community celebrates you this evening with gratitude and appreciation for all you do for this university. And on their behalf, I thank you wholeheartedly. We couldn't have made it this far without you. Thank you. tonight with a story about another WPI graduate whose life has been changed by the generosity of donors, and because of the kindness of strangers, is now able to use her WPI education to make a positive difference in the world.
My name is Julie Bliss Mullen. I graduated from WPI in 2012, and I studied environmental engineering and then also have a degree in environmental and sustainability studies. When I was a student at WPI, I received a couple family scholarships, and those were really impactful and beneficial for me as a college student because I was able to focus on my studies as opposed to find a job to be able to support my education. After my studies at WPI, I joined the Civil and Environmental Engineering department at UMass Amherst as a PhD student, and I was looking at innovative water purification technologies where I discovered a new way to purify water using electricity.
When Julie was at WPI, she was the recipient of a scholarship. And I think now that she is going out into the world with her technology, she is trying to have an impact on a large number of people.
Clean water is a global issue, and we've seen it here in the United States. What you might not know is that in Massachusetts alone, 69% of schools have elevated lead levels, and that's terrifying. At Clarity, our goal is to make sure that everybody has access to clean and safe water. So we're starting right here in Massachusetts and working with a company who can help us to manufacture and distribute these products to homes. But our vision is much grander than that. We want to make sure that every home in the United States and globally is able to drink clean and safe water.
The technology that she is working on is to develop a clean water solution that will remove contaminants from water and is a very low resource kind of solution, which means this can be implemented globally.
The basic technology here is electrochemistry, and what that means is that the water is being zapped by electricity, and there are chemicals in here that react really, really fast to destroy the contaminants. Clarity was recently featured in Forbes magazine, and this not-for-profit called 3 to 5 Days gave us a call after they read the article, and they were looking for water purification technology that they could implement in kiosks in developing countries. We recently traveled together to the Bahamas to install an Clarity device. And this device is going to ensure clean and safe water for that community, but also for communities all throughout the Caribbean and globally.
I think that's just an amazing example of how a scholarship to help one student can then help many people in the world.
Without the donor support at WPI, I wouldn't have been able to immerse myself in these water projects. And that has been so important in getting me to where I am now as the CEO of a startup that focuses on water quality. And now I feel the passion and I feel really, excited and empowered to change the world.
Wow, that was great. What an incredible story. And we have Julie here with us tonight. Julie, where are you? Stand up for a second. There's Julie. So proud of you. Incredible to see that knock-on effect, that follow-on impact that a donor has had, inspiring you as a student and then go on and do such amazing things. And I think that in that way, your gifts are the gifts that really keep on giving to these wonderful students, to our amazing faculty over time. I want to thank, as we just wrap up tonight, I want to thank again Julie, Kristin Boudreau, Matthew, Jack, and Rachel. All of them, weren't they incredible? And of course, that we could have gotten hundreds more to tell incredible stories about the impact of the kind of support that you all have been so generous with in support of WPI. We could have had many more stories to tell. But these were just all of them. I'm crying. Yesterday we had over 900 students and their parents visiting our campus for our first Accepted Students Day for the class of 2023. Just like side note, 48% of the visiting students were women. So the beat goes on, right? And as one class graduates, another class comes in, and our mission continues. Our goals here at WPI are small. We change lives. We positively impact the world. That's all. That's all we want to do. Through projects, through research, through education of students who go on to be technological, business, academic leaders. And because the work we do every single day supports those students, and because your generosity supports us, you are part of this quest with us. You change lives. You positively impact the world. We literally couldn't do this without you. And so, as we close, I just want to say on behalf of the generations of students and faculty that you support, and the numerous communities that they and we together work in and influence, and the millions of people, literally, whose lives can be impacted by the work that we do, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you for your support. Thank you for being a part of this extraordinary community. I'm so happy that we are in this together, that we are doing this together. Together, we are the Global Polytechnic. Together, we are WPI. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.